We all set, Elisa? Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this second roundtable at the IFSAM Congress. My name's Martin Spring, and as far as IFSAM is concerned, I'm Vice President for Events and Conferences, and I'm a Professor of Operations Management at Lancaster University Management School in the UK. Our topic for today is based around the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and their connection to our work as business and management scholars and academics. And we thought this was, well, a pressing theme. There are many difficulties in the world, and we felt it important in the IFSAM Congress to address some of these huge challenges that we have. And this theme also has the benefit of cutting across our IFSAM organising themes of research, education and practice. We have 4 speakers today. I'll make some brief introductions. Then we plan to have each speaker give some opening comments for about 10 minutes each. Then some opportunity for discussion among the panelists, and then a question and answer session for questions from the audience. So please use the chat function to write any questions that occur to you on the way as we go through the discussion, and we'll try to organise them and put them to the panelists according to the time we have available. Can you keep the microphones off, please? Okay, someone has a microphone open. Please close the microphone. I'll now introduce the panelists. We have Marco Frey, who is full Professor of Economics and Business Management and Vice Rector for the 3rd Mission and Technology Transfer at Sant'Anna School of Advanced Studies in Pisa, Italy. And he has positions also at IUSS of Pavia, at the Catholic University of Milan, and Luis in Rome. And at Sant'Anna, specific to this particular panel, he coordinates the Interdisciplinary Research Centre on Sustainability and Climate, and he's president of the Global Compact Network Italy of the United Nations, so can speak very authoritatively on the SDGs, and he has a number of other advisory roles. Saad Laraki is Associate Dean of Research at ESCA École de Management, Casablanca, Morocco. He's published extensively on finance and international business, and is a leading figure in the Casablanca Climate Leadership Forum, which coordinates across 6 African business schools in relation to climate change activities. And we have Amanda Williams, who's a Sustainability Research Fellow and Term Research Professor at the Centre for Sustainability and Inclusive Business at IMD in Lausanne, Switzerland. And she studies how organisations understand global sustainability issues and develop their corporate sustainability strategies to align with global targets, and has published work in leading journals such as the Academy of Management Discoveries, Strategic Organisation, and the Journal of Business Ethics. Before joining IMD, Amanda was a senior researcher at ETH Zurich in Switzerland, where she collaborated with the UN Global Compact Network in Switzerland to embed the UN Sustainable Development Goals into corporate strategy, and previously worked at Copenhagen Business School, and before that in technology companies in industry. And Sophia Hedevag is Senior Vice President for Sustainability at Gränges, which is a global leader in aluminium rolling and recycling, and based in Stockholm, Sweden. She's had a number of senior management roles in major corporations and has a master's degree from Stockholm School of Economics. Those are our panelists, and I'll also introduce my colleague Robert Demir, who's Senior Associate Professor of Strategy in the Department of Management and Engineering at Linköping University, Sweden, a research fellow at the House of Innovation in Stockholm School of Economics. And he's Deputy VP for Events at IFSAM and has been helping working with the team to develop the Congress, and will be co-chairing this session today. And there are a few common connections there in Scandinavia across our participants, amongst others. Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes each. I'll set that process in motion, give our speakers the floor in turn, and then pick up the discussion thereafter. So I'll hand over to Marco, please.
Yes, thank you. I try to share my screen with very few slides. So the first one is about SDGs. As you know, the agenda of UN started at the beginning of the millennium with the MDGs, Millennium Development Goals, very concentrated on the social pillar of sustainability, as you can see in the slide on the left. And when in 2015, in September in New York, the UN defined the new agenda 2030, enlarged the spectrum with 17 SDGs. You can consider 3 lines in this representation. The first one is social, so very connected to the agenda of millennium. And the second one is about economic goals, so a novelty in the approach of UN. And the third one, it's more about environmental goals. So the 3 dimensions of sustainability are put together with this large framework, including a lot of targets. There are 3 main novelties in this kind of approach. The first one, it's about the country involved. The attention in the past from UN is more dedicated to undeveloped countries. With the new agenda, the attention is for all the countries in the world, also advanced countries like European or Western. The second novelty, it's about the attention on sustainability in a complex and systemic dimension, so the 3 dimensions of sustainability. The third one, it's about the engagement of private sector. So business are part of this kind of challenge. The situation after the half of the period between 2015 and 2030 is not good. You can see how many goals are in regression or in stagnation about the targets included in. And only very few targets are on the track. So this is the question. We have to accelerate the commitment and to engage more and more the different actors in this kind of big challenge. Something about the role of the business sector. You can see the increase. This is the representation made by UN Global Compact, so 25,000 of companies in the world. If before the agenda, 83% of this kind of very committed companies are engaged in terms of to be accountable for sustainable performance of the companies. 9 years after, in the last CEO study, the attention is for the large majority, 98%, about create the condition as a CEO to make the business more sustainable. And Could be interesting also to consider in very fast way some the principal components of these commitment. In terms of strategy, launching new products. In terms of governance, engaging in long-term strategic partnership. In terms of workforce, upskilling and reskilling the work force for the future labor market. In terms of value chain, strengthening visibility into the social impact of the value chain. In terms of technology, digitalizing business processes, and so on. So this is about the level of commitment. Something about the relation with the institutions. As you know, Global Compact is a multi-stakeholder platform in which companies have to consider also the partnership with governments and other actors. In terms of importance of different stakeholders, you can see the evolution of the perception of CEOs in the time. And in the last analysis, consumers maintain the first position, but governments increase the role. This is a new good news, if you want, especially related to the policies in some part of the world, in Europe, for example, creating more conditions to work together between companies and governments. And could be also interesting to consider the request, the asks that companies pose to policymakers. For example, align national determined contribution to 1.5 objective goal. Or for example, standardize ESG reporting frameworks. So a lot of aspects included, for example, in European policies in the last years during the Green Deal are requested by companies. So the condition to work together, for example, about the engagement of supply chains in the CS-DDD directive could be an approach included in this collaborative framework and possibility. Something about the progress. In over 7,000 companies have signed up to business ambition for 1.5. There is a very large engagement about the gender question included into the sustainability plans of company. There is also a specific accelerator inside UN Global Compact on this topic. About the SDG 6, was developed the first framework and guidance for companies to set this very important issue. As you can know, water is the big challenge for this century, as the same of energy in the last century. And there are also interesting engagement of young people, young innovators inside this accelerator, but it's not enough. And we need a strong increase of commitment. We have to enlarge the participation of SMEs in the general framework of Global Compact, but at the same time of other initiatives in which institutions like UN are strongly engaged to achieve results as the goal of climate, as in general the SDGs. I can conclude here my short presentation.
Thank you very much, Marco. Thank you. A great context for what follows. Saad has arrived just to join us. Saad, I was planning to hand over to you. Are you all set to pick up the conversation there?
Thank you very much. I was connected through your link, but now I'm with you. Well, thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm delighted to participate. So, as you said, as the Associate Dean of Research at ESCA École de Management in Casablanca, Morocco, I see firsthand the profound role that African business schools can and must play in advancing sustainability. As you know, we are situated in an emerging market, and our responsibility goes beyond preparing future business leaders. And we are also uniquely positioned to address some of the most pressing challenges of our time. One of them is, of course, climate change, which is for us being at the forefront of everything. So again, I would like to underline that Africa contributes very little to global CO2 emissions, yet the continent bears a disproportionate share of its consequences, with communities across the region facing severe droughts, floods, and food insecurity. So that's why for us, those SDGs really represent a critical tool that we need to use. So it is clearly a crucial framework for Africa's business schools. So in Africa, sustainable development is not just an abstract goal. It is a necessity. And business schools like ESCA must take the lead in educating future leaders who understand the importance of sustainability. So the Sustainable Development Goals provide us with a clear framework to achieve this. They guide our research, our education program, and our institutional strategies, ensuring that we contribute meaningfully to the continent's development. However, there is a tension between the need to meet traditional academic metrics, such as publishing in high-impact journals, and the need to address Africa's unique development challenges. The pursuit of global rankings and research output can sometimes overshadow the deeper, longer-term impact that SDGs-driven research aim to achieve. So clearly, does present some challenges. So I would like to briefly address the tensions between SDGs and traditional metrics. Like many institutions, ESCA faces the challenge of balancing SDG-related research and education with the financial pressures of running a successful business school. There is often a disconnect between the short-term goals of academic performance and the long-term objectives of sustainable development. For instance, while our faculty are encouraged to conduct research that aligns with the SDGs, they are simultaneously measured on the basis of research metrics that may not always prioritize the local impact-driven needs of the African markets. So for us, that means we have to turn those challenges into opportunities. Clearly, turning challenges into opportunities, it is something that we strive to do all the time. So this tension do not need to hold us back. And at ESCA, we see the SDGs not as an external mandate, but as an opportunity to innovate, to rethink how we conduct research and how we educate the next generations of business leaders. By aligning our academic efforts with Africa's development goals, we can position ourselves not just as the top business school in Africa, but as a leader in sustainable development on the global stage. So Africa's unique challenges, such as its vulnerability to climate change, are also its greatest opportunities. By focusing on the SDGs, business schools in Africa can contribute solutions to these challenges, which will not only benefit the continent, but also offer valuable insights to the world. For example, our faculty's research on sustainable business practices in agriculture, renewable energy, and climate resilience provides innovative models that can be scaled globally. So let me address the issue of strategies for integrating SDGs into academia. There are several ways that African Business School, including ESCA, can embrace the SDGs while maintaining academic excellence. One key strategy is interdisciplinary collaborations. So Africa's challenges are complex and multifaceted, requiring collaboration between business, environmental sciences, engineering, social sciences to develop truly impactful solutions. So at ESCA, we are actively fostering partnerships across disciplines and with industry leaders, allowing us to bring real-world perspective into our classroom. Additionally, our curriculum is evolving to ensure that students are equipped with the skills they need to tackle sustainability challenges. Through case studies, research projects, and partnership with local and global industries, our students gain a deep understanding of the intersection between business and sustainability. We also emphasize the importance of ethical leadership, ensuring that our graduates are not only competent managers, but also socially responsible leaders who can drive change in their communities. So to end my remarks, I would say that as an African business school,
Sorry, Saad, we can't hear
we
you.
are prepared. Sorry?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Oh, you lost me. So I was just saying, by aligning our research and education with the SDGs, we are preparing our students to be leaders in a rapidly changing world. So we believe that the tensions between traditional academic performance and the sustainability can be reconciled, and that through innovation and collaboration, African business schools can play a pivotal role in shaping a sustainable future for both the continent and the world. And I will just give one last word that ESCA stands as a testament to the power of education and research in driving meaningful change. And the SDGs provide us with a roadmap, and through our commitment to sustainability, we can contribute to Africa's growth while addressing global challenges. And by turning these tensions into opportunities, we can build a future where business schools are not only centers of academic excellence, but also engines of positive social and environmental impact. And I'll be happy to answer a question that may be related to what we are doing at ESCA. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Saad. Super. Good to hear from your perspective in all sorts of ways. And I think that leads quite nicely into the topics that Amanda is going to cover next. Amanda, over to you.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Just pulling up my slides here. Right, so just stop me if for some reason the visual is not working, but I think my slides are up. So thanks a lot to Robert and to Martin for this invitation to talk today about a topic that I'm very passionate about, which is engaged scholarship. And thank you to Marco and Saad for setting the scene, giving us more the macro level context, and then bringing it down to the business school level. what I would like to talk about is research and how this can play a role in all the different opportunities that Saad was talking about in terms of how business schools can be more engaged in driving action towards the SDGs. So impact is a very big topic now in management. What is impact? What does it mean? How can we have impact? I think there's a realization that just publishing in top academic journals doesn't necessarily justify the existence of our field. So how can we start to solve some of the challenges that we face and that we write about in our academic papers as represented by the Sustainable Development Goals? And I've been doing a lot of work in this area, not only on my own research being engaged, but also on the academic side, trying to push forward the conversation about engaged scholarship and impact. So recently we had this special issue in Strategic Organization that focused on impact-driven research. And we really wanted to see behind the scenes what an impact-driven research project looks like. Because we're often taught in our training, our qualitative research training, if we do field work, that we need to be neutral observers, that we are supposed to capture reality and explain that. But what's less clear is how we can actually be more involved in the field that we are studying. So that was the point behind this special issue. The introduction is not online. This is a capture of the proof, but it will be out soon online. And the actual papers in the issue are already out at Strategic Organization.
Excuse me, Amanda. For me, the slide is obscured by some blocks. I don't know whether you could unshare and share again. Turn it off and turn it on again in the time-honored fashion.
Yeah, let me do that. It looked fine for me, so.
I don't know about anyone else. Robert?
Yeah, I had the same blocks.
Is it?
There's always a lag. There was yesterday with the sessions.
Yeah, it does seem to be moving a bit slowly. Sorry, I have clicked on full screen, but it's is that any better?
No.
It's still got the same problem from my point of view.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, on my screen it looks fine, so I'm not sure what else.
No, we can see most of it. I don't want to hold things up unnecessarily, but if it
Okay.
was a quick fix, we could
Let me put it back. There is another window on my thing. I can try this. Is that it all better?
Still waiting. The lag.
Okay.
No, same problem.
Sorry.
Well, I am showing a definition of what we mean by impact.
Yep,
and
we can see that. Carry on, Amanda.
Okay. Yeah, so in this special issue, we wanted to define what is impact, because there's this notion that academic research is going to go out and there's going to be this huge measurable impact in terms of, I reached X amount of people or et cetera. But in actuality, I think impact is more about the portfolio of things that we do as academics. So not only our research, but our teaching and our engagement with managers and our dissemination as well. That it's still done with a rigorous academic quality. So we don't want to lose the rigor of academic research, but is done in a way that helps to address and solve social and environmental issues. Okay. And the activities that I would consider fall under impact are quite broad in terms of dissemination to broader audiences, like in outlets like HBR and Salon, etc. The development of practical tools. So sometimes people develop frameworks or tools that companies can use to understand better their impacts against the SDGs. Also co-creation, so working with practitioners to develop knowledge that is managerially relevant. Education, so our teaching, some of us engage with politicians and policy engagement, writing policy briefs, and doing research to really inform policy. And some people are more engaged in activism, so really going out into the field and trying to drive change through social movements. So I think there's a lot of activities that we do that can fall under this umbrella of scholarly impact. So this is what my portfolio approach looks like in terms of engagement in the field. So most of my research projects are really working alongside practitioners. And in this example, for my PhD, I worked with the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. And my project there was about developing the SDG Compass, so a guide for business action on the SDGs. And WBCSD was then the phenomenon that I was studying for my academic papers. So I was in the field working on projects with WBCSD while simultaneously doing my academic research. And this has led to a lot of different other things. For example, I then became very interested in how companies are using the SDGs. What does this big global framework mean to companies? As Marco very well set us up for, this was a big change for businesses. Okay? They weren't really involved in the MDGs, but as soon as the SDGs came out, you were seeing them in corporate reports. So then I kind of dug into deeper. What is this? What does this mean? And I found really exciting examples of companies that were using the SDGs in a unique way and published this in Stanford Social Innovation Review. So that's what I would consider dissemination, using my research-based insights, but publishing it in an outlet that is targeted at practitioners. And then I also consider myself as a little bit of a change agent. So all the things that I do surrounding trying to bring awareness about the topic of engaged scholarship within the academic community itself, like I'm doing right at this very moment, but also the special issue that I did and organizing other panels and events, etc., around the topic. And also, I think our teaching is very important and an important mechanism that for me is closely tied to my research. So for example, from my field research at WBCSD, I've written 2 teaching case studies that I'm using in the classroom. And I also use the SDG Compass that I developed during my fieldwork as a framework for my class to really walk through the students of this strategic process about how a company could use the SDGs to set their strategy. So this slide is just to say, this is my portfolio approach. These are the different dimensions of my work that I see that I can leverage as an opportunity to help, in small ways that are often unmeasurable and not immediately obvious, help drive change towards the SDGs. And this is just a slide to kind of show, okay, it was one field work, but this has really led to a lot of different things in academia and outside of academia, but all centered around this one field work. And these are just the material, physical publications that come out of it. But behind these things, there are a lot of conversations. Using the Teach Studies in class, there's lots of conversations with the students. The Stanford Social Innovation article that I wrote was then picked up, and I was asked to do several talks based on that. And just hear that's really inspirational in helping companies to understand how they can take their SDG engagements further. So there are the physical aspects that we can see and that we can measure, but there's a lot of intangible things that are the conversations and how you change people's way of thinking that also goes behind all of this engaged scholarship work. And of course, it's not easy. We've already started to talk about what are the opportunities and challenges that business schools face in terms of aligning our metrics and the way our system work with actually help to solving the SDGs. So there's all sorts of challenges in terms of methodological norms and assumptions. As I've already mentioned, in my PhD training, I was taught to be the fly on the wall. So then you're put in the field and you don't know how to handle this tension that there is between I'm a neutral observer versus I'm an active participant in helping create change. As we've mentioned, time should be spent on publishing top publications. The quickest path to academic success is getting your top publications and definitely going out into the field and spending time in building those relationships and working on things that don't end up in academic journals is not the quickest way to ensure academic success. So there's definitely a time and investment element there in building those relationships. And you do become a little bit neither here nor there. So I was going back and forth between the university and the WBCSD, and it is hard to straddle these worlds. You know, you show up at one place and you've been gone for months, and like your desk is gone. You know, you weren't here. More people are coming in. So, and you have to switch. You have to switch modes from being in writing papers to, you know, engaging and talking in a different way and demonstrating the relevance of your research. So there is this tension that is created when you jump back and forth. And going from the inductive data to theoretical contributions is extremely difficult. You know, what the data we collect in the field is not necessarily immediately theoretically relevant, and that's what we need to get into top publications in management. We need theoretical contributions. So it takes a long time to go through the data and to understand, you know, what is my contribution to theory. I started one paper in 2015 and it just got accepted about a month ago. So, you know, that's a 9-year time span that it takes to really polish these things and get them into academic journals. I think there are things that help. There are communities that are growing around this topic of impact. There's the Impact Scholarly community that's doing a mentoring program, so that's really great. In my case, I had super supportive supervisors that, you know, even allowed me to go into the field for over a year. Some supervisors would just say, get your data and come back and publish, you know, articles with my name on it, you know. So I was very fortunate to have supervisors that were supportive of this type of work. And you also need practitioners that are willing, that are open to academic research, that you have this connection with, because not all practitioners can see immediately the value of academic work. So building that relationship does take time. Passion, we must be persistent. There are lots of barriers. So yeah, you just need to be passionate about the topic and standing your ground. You can very easily get caught up in playing the game and just doing the things that we need for academic success. So I think when those tensions do arrive, it's important that you know where you stand, even if it's not the norm, and that you can keep going with it. Yeah, thank you so much. That's all I have to say. Feel free to connect with me, and I'm looking forward to the discussion afterwards.
Thank you, Amanda. Lots of great insights that a lot of us can empathise with, I think, there. And I think I'm right in saying that's the second time in this Congress I've heard the phrase neither here nor there. That came up yesterday in the conversation about the changing context of HEI. So we're all a bit perhaps fragmented and displaced and trying to work out where to be. Okay. Our final speaker is Sophia, and I think some of Amanda's points about working with industry and making a practical impact will play nicely into what Sophie has to say. Over to you, Sophia.
Yes, thank you. I was trying to find the unmute button, which is always the challenge, right? So thank you so much for having me here. As Martin said before, I work as the Senior Vice President Sustainability at Gränges, a global aluminium company focused on rolling and recycling. I'll talk a bit about that. I have a background from Stockholm School of Economics, and I've been working in the sustainability field and the finance field actually for about 15 years now. I sit in Gränges' group management team together with our CEO, CFO, and our 3 regional business area presidents since 4 years back. And my role is basically to lead the development and execution of our sustainability plan. So today I'm here to give you a more practical example then of a company who really integrates sustainability into the core of the business. Gränges, we serve customers in several sectors. The automotive industry is one of our clear priorities. We also have aluminium materials going into stationary HVAC units, some packaging, some other niches such as battery foil for for cars. We have around 3,000 employees and are present globally with 7 production sites. And aluminium, that's a metal you can find everywhere in society, everywhere from thinnest foil to large constructions like cars, boats, airplanes. It's a light material, but also quite strong. And a very important feature is its recyclability. So aluminium is an important material and attractive material for a sustainable development and a sustainable society. And at the same time, the aluminium industry is accounting for more than 2% of the global climate impact. So that really means that we need to find solutions to make our industry more sustainable. So it's part of the opportunity and solutions for the future, but also part of the problem. And that gives a great opportunity for innovation, like Saad talked about earlier today. And also a very good starting point for me as a sustainability practitioner, that it is a big challenge and opportunity, of course. Gränges has a business model, which I'm not going to give you all the details around, but I just wanted to show that in our business model, sustainability is really set at the core. We believe that our sustainability efforts and creating a more sustainable company can create differentiation, can create business value to our customers and to ourselves, that it can also help us attract competence, to retain talents, etc., etc. Also attract capital, of course, with the investor community. And we have worked quite systematically for the past 7 years now to integrate sustainability into our business and put it there in the middle. So my job is very much, it sounded like it was similar to your job, Amanda, but it's not really. But my job is really a lot about educating our employees, also educating our customers what sustainability is all about in practice, and also educate our sourcing teams, our production teams, our marketing and sales teams, etc. And basically to ensure that every employee, all our 2,700 people, that they find a way to integrate sustainability into their decision making and their daily jobs. So very much as a facilitator. And also wanted to make a point that I think it's important for companies to have a sustainable business strategy rather than a sustainability strategy. And I think that is quite interesting. And Gränges's long-term strategy is called sustainable growth. So it's really integrated into the core. We have set out some very, very ambitious goals. We normally present our sustainability goals side by side with our financial goals. I just wanted to give you a snapshot of the sustainability goals, where we focus on climate action or net zero as one focus area, on circularity as a second, and on responsible business practices as a third focus for us. We aim to be climate neutral already by 2040, which is super ambitious. We also want to tenfold our recycling and work to really ensure a sustainable supply chain. So as you can see, these focus areas are not directly linked to the SDGs, but they're very much indirectly linked. And I don't know if you can see the background here on my whiteboard, but I also have the SDGs here. It serves a purpose. It's colorful, and you can really pinpoint the different aspects of sustainability. And let's see here. So they are, even if we don't use the SDGs in our external communication, our focus areas are highly linked to 7 of the 17. And if you dig deeper into our sustainability plans, all 17 are present. But strong focus on energy, climate, and responsible consumption and production here, number 12. I would say that's where we focus. And even if we have set out really high ambitions for ourselves, we will never, and I really mean never, reach our goals without collaboration and joint action. So these are just some examples of organizations and companies that we work with. We have Polestar, it's an example of a customer. We have Scepter and Hydro, two suppliers. We are collaborating with IVL, which is the Swedish Environmental Research Institute. We do collaborate with industry associations and peers, such as European Aluminium and the Aluminium Stewardship Initiative, and then some other global sustainability initiatives where we, of course, are committed to the UN Global Compact and also the World Economic Forum's initiative, First Movers Coalition, to really try to drive change. And we also have local collaborations with many different schools and universities around the world, where we invite students both to come and work and learn from Gränges or help us by case studies or other projects. And as one example, we worked quite closely with Lancaster University, and I had a sustainability education or presentation to the management school students a couple of years ago, which Robert was quite involved in. And then just want to finish up by talking a little bit about the importance of competence sharing and also creating engagement. And it's really been a journey at Gränges. So when I started back in 2017, there was not even a clear definition of sustainability. I asked like 25 people and I got 25 answers. And now it's really the biggest opportunity and business driver, as well as a future proofer. So it is really important to have clear goals, to have good plans in place, and to have really good definitions so that everyone focuses on the same things. And then also to continuously work to raise engagement, to raise competence and awareness. And for us, it's been a journey internally, but also with our customers, because our customers are still sometimes not mature enough to understand these topics. And then also, it's important for me to really make sure that my colleagues will be the sustainability ambassadors. So that's what I'm trying to do, create 2,700 ambassadors to build awareness and engagement. And this icon here is our core value, which is sustainability, which was added to the 3 core values last year as a way to drive engagement. And then I wanted to finish off. I decided to include the video now. So I'll show you a bit of what we're doing to create engagement as a way to round up my 10 minutes. So with that, I'll hand back over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Sophia. Super. Thank you. And I think we've seen some very interesting and complementary perspectives so far. It seems to me there's, I mean, that there are issues that are specific to the SDGs, but also some more general ones about working across boundaries and across between the academic world, practice, policy, and so on. I just wonder if I could start off by asking a general question about what the challenges are in that respect of the business and management community I mean, Marco's data show there's a long way to go in getting traction with the SDGs and the changes that we need. We've heard about different approaches to this. So the general question to the panel: what do you think are the challenges, perhaps at institutional level in business schools, in universities? What makes this thing difficult to do, and what can we do about it?
Okay, if you want, I may address the challenges that we have, at least at ESCA, Business School, and clearly there is always a resistance to change. But in our case, for us to be impactful, we have to change the pedagogy and switch to active learning and learning by doing. And to a certain extent, we had to projectize our courses. So students are really involved in project, and also we have to develop cases. So traditional academic structures and faculty members resist all the time integrating a new sustainability-focused curriculum. So that's why we have to find solution to implement the development program to educate teachers and students. The other issue in terms of African business school, we don't have the same resources as in rich countries. So we have limited resources, and clearly it's a challenge when you have limited budget and resources, which might hinder the development of new sustainability-focused courses, program, and initiatives. So, of course, the solution is to seek external funding and partnership and so on. Then the other issue is that students in developing countries and emerging markets, usually they have a lot of struggles besides just going to school, and the lack of students' engagement can be an issue. So some students may not initially recognize the importance of sustainability in education because they are simply overwhelmed by so many things around their life. And that's why we have to come up with solutions to create engaging and interactive learning experiences. And that's why we have a lot of extracurricular activities. And then the other issue for emerging markets, sometimes it's not like in the US where business schools and university play a key role between executive, legislative, and the businesses. Clearly, sometimes we find ourselves that there are limited industry collaborations simply because schools and education do not have the same place as at least in the US from my own perspective. And last, not least, I think at least in our region of the world, there are some cultural and regional differences that we have to account for. And cultural and regional differences can lead to varied interpretation and priorities regarding sustainability. And solutions, of course, are there, and we have to be creative. So we do have to customize sustainability education to reflect local and regional context, so students really can see themselves in those issues. And just last point that we have to really think twice about the strategies to create this kind of awareness that was addressed by Sophia and also Amanda. So that's the perspective from a business school from an African country.
Martin,
yes, please do, Marco. Yeah.
I want to add two things about the question. The first one, it's about governance of business schools, universities. Sustainability is a great occasion to link together the three traditional missions of in university. So research, education, and impact. We call this third mission, considering the third dimension of this work. And in sustainability, you can create a strong connection. The example is Engage Scholarship presented by Amanda. So doing research, robust research with strong methods, but considering the strong interaction with business actors or institutions, and also the impact. But the challenge is how we can measure the impact, how we can include impact inside the performances that the governance, sorry, of business school ask to the researcher. The second point, it's about interdisciplinarity. Sustainability is a very strong interdisciplinary challenge, and we have to put together different competencies, different field of knowledge. But this is not easy when the academia is organized in a very vertical way. So in this case, we need the capacity, also in terms of strategic plan inside the business schools and the university, to consider a long-term perspective, disrupting the traditional structures, using matrix approaches. So departments, but also interdisciplinary centers in education program link different actors, and considering also the role of partnership with the private sector. This could be a way to participate together into the sustainability challenges. Also using, if you want, the third point, SDGs as a reference point. We use it inside our university. We have sustainability report. We measure our carbon footprint. We put targets linked as a companies to SDGs, and we try also to measure the capacity to change with engaged scholarship. For example, the results made by the interaction between research centers and business actors. But all these possibilities need a new way of thinking inside the universities.
Where do you think that will come from, Marco? At the very top of the university? Yeah.
Yes.
In a word.
No, not in a word, but we try to improve.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking from a UK perspective, we have the ref impact, so we're struggling, and I think probably have some experience now in measuring impact, but I'm sure there's a way to go with improving that. Sophia.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a brief comment also about the business side of it, or the company side of it, that sustainability really brings companies together, because usually we compete, but sustainability brings a lot of new opportunities, and it's a requirement to collaborate with other actors. So maybe it's the same within the business school sphere, but that it's really sometimes an entrance to strategic discussions and to collaboration through sustainability.
Yeah, and I think colleagues of mine working on social sustainability have found that collective action among companies in particular sectors is becoming increasingly important. Yeah. Amanda.
I just wanted to add one thing that I found was a problem. Integrating the SDGs. In a former role, I was really actively involved in integrating the SDGs into a business school. But also I see this in my research as well with companies, is that the framework is just a very macro level framework. So when we were trying to integrate it within the business school, not everyone could immediately see the connection between their work and the SDGs. So we had workshops where we sat down and explained to all the faculty and researchers about the SDGs, and to kind of help them to find their place in these goals. because there was a question in the chat, obviously my research is about sustainability, so the link is direct, but then there's other fields like HRM and diversity, equity, and inclusion, but these are in the goals as well. There's SDGs about decent work and economic growth, and there's also goals about, inequalities as well. Some are even less obvious than that, but I think that's kind of a process that lots of businesses and universities alike had to go through to kind of go from this macro level framework to something that people could make sense of in their everyday life. So I think that's a barrier as well.
Thank you. I'll hand over to Robert, I think, at this point.
Thank you, Martin. And I would like to reconnect to some of the points that were raised actually during this last bit of the discussion. It seems to me that collaboration is really central to addressing the SDGs. At the same time, at business schools, we do attempt and try at least to inform our students and educate them, but there is only a limited sort of ability from the side of business schools, because after all, most of the teachers, excluding some younger ones like Amanda, have actually limited knowledge of what the SDGs are in terms of a deeper knowledge. So defining things is the top of the iceberg in a sense, but having said that, we also have a time disadvantage at business schools because of the pressures to publish. Knowledge comes out both rapidly in terms of addressing those immediate things, but also more slowly with respect to addressing more fundamental things. The other time disadvantage is to engage our students deeply in these matters. So the question is, how can we find new ways of engaging students in a meaningful way with the SDGs in collaboration with companies and other organizations? So that's a broad question that perhaps someone would like to reflect on.
Saad has his hand up.
Yes, I just would like to add something regarding what Robert mentioned, the importance of collaborations. And my perspective is that, and I mentioned that Africa is hit by climate change in a way that is much more than many countries. And the collaboration has to take place with countries that can be perceived as the periphery, because it's about solutions. And sometimes when the solutions are coming from the West, and will not be accounting for the fact that African countries, developing countries, emerging countries are really at the heart of those problems, and you don't have the kind of collaboration that account for the periphery, then those advanced countries that basically represent the core may come up with solutions that will not be impactful at the global level, and which means will not solve the solutions, because we are all in the same planet. And if you don't have the kind of collaboration that will bring all continents and certainly account for developing countries, then solution will not be very impactful. And that's why, for me, this issue of collaboration is very critical, very important. And the periphery should not be neglected, because it will defeat the whole solution that will bring a good solution for the globe. That's my point.
Thanks, Saad. Marco, did you have a...
Yes, an answer to the question by Robert. I had the experience of one master program of 30 years about environment. The beginning of the 90s, the participants are very interested in the capacity to build a specific competence, the capacity to manage, to audit environmental issues in interdisciplinary way. So also in the past, this question was present. Now, the request is to have the capacity to understand the tools, the instruments, but also a strategic way to change the world for young people. So the component of values, the possibility to work inside companies in a different way, to create impact is very, very important for young people. So I think it's not so necessary to identify a way to engage. It's important to find ways to create the condition for a natural engagement that is present in the new generations. And this could be a very important strategic role of business school. Because companies understood the necessity in strategic terms to change, to be as a relevant actor in the transition processes, as Sophia showed us. So we have to work using new tools, new capacity, new ways in general to support this need of change that people ask to the research and teaching institutions.
Thanks, Marco. That was insightful as well. Thanks. Amanda.
I think I have a good example to your question. When I was at Rotterdam School of Management, I was part of a project team about the Sustainable Development Goals. And what we did was we created a MOOC to introduce the SDGs to all of the students, so that all bachelor students would have this introduction to the SDGs. So it was a series of video modules, but we actually had, one professor in the module, but we also brought in the companies as well. So the companies were saying, what does the SDG mean to them? And then we were getting the academic perspective behind it with the framework. So you can actually find that sort of MOOC out there. I think it's on Coursera. So I think that was an example of how did we integrate the SDGs into the curriculum and collaborated with businesses as well to do that.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks very much. Right.
I just wonder also whether there's a similar phenomenon among the early career researcher colleagues, as well as among students who are basically already, as it were, motivated and interested in these issues. I think I'm of a generation that's come to this rather late on, and we have to find room and find ways to reorient ourselves. I wonder if you're seeing that anyone's got anything to say about the early career researchers and their sort of instinctive appetite for working on sustainability related matters. I see a lot of research around me that, in transportation or in supply chain management, say that's has sustainability as a key focus. Amanda, you're
Yeah, I would say, yeah, absolutely. Marco said, the change would come from the top, but I'd say the change is coming from both directions. So there's definitely a new generation of scholars, that I'm part of and that I'm talking with, and there are all sorts of communities that are forming around this topic. And for example, the Impact Scholar community. But I had a PDW about it at EGOS this past year, and the scholars in the room were really asking for more training. They said this panel was great that we have now discussed engaged scholarship, but we need training on this because we don't have it. So I think the appetite is there, and of course there will need to be the incentives and formalities in place from the top. But there's definitely a generation of scholars that are asking for this and that are pushing it forward themselves. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. It also reminds me that this is an opportunity to insert a small advert for the early career researchers and the IFSAM Academy launch later today in the next roundtable. So I think that's in an hour or so from now. Elise will put me right if I've got the timing wrong off the top of my head. Okay, please invite the audience to post questions in the chat. Oh, Amanda, go ahead. That's an old one. That's applause. Okay, I just saw a yellow a yellow hand appear. Several of you have been involved, very much in specifically with the SDGs, the UN activity, and the Prime. Any thoughts, further thoughts, comments on how useful those particular formal mechanisms, frameworks are in structuring, propagating, incentivizing activities within firms, within perhaps Sophia, and within business schools. The rest of the panel.
Martin, if you want, I can a little bit address this issue because ESCA, because the management, we are a member of Prime, and we have published in 2023 our report, and we are working in the next one. And obviously, we have embedded the Prime I5 pedagogy into everything that we do in the school. So for us, it is like a toolbox that we find very useful, and we have changed our pedagogy. And I would say that we have embedded this responsible leadership in all activities that we do, starting from the classroom, which means, in terms of curriculum integration, we have made sure that we have introduced many new courses, especially in terms of integrating ethics and responsible business courses. We have inserted into all our courses cases that we have developed at ESCA that basically account for our context. And obviously, as it was mentioned, we have emphasized the importance of interdisciplinary. Having said that, it is not enough just to have those curriculum integration. We have also trained our faculty, so that's why in terms of faculty development, we have used the I5 methodology in many workshops, so our faculty can basically grasp it and master it, and we have offered training programs regularly to all our students, to our faculty, for the classroom, but also for the research. In fact, we provide a lot of support because ESCA's mission is really focusing on sustainability and Africa, and then the field of research, all of them basically have this dimension of sustainability. And that's why we end up by really influencing all the research that is being done in a way that we may have an impact. And sometimes it's very different from what you may experience. Let's say, for example, in Switzerland, Amanda mentioned that to publish an article probably in Q1 or A star, it can take a long time, even 9 years. But in our case, we understand that we have limited resources. I mean, 9 years, it is like, probably at the end, half a salary. And we know also a Q1 or A star article will probably have no impact in Africa, because how many countries can afford to have people that will be reading those journals? So we are aware about those issues, and we try to contextualize them. And also, we try to have collaboration with the industry so we can develop those leadership development programs for our students, so that our students can be mentored by CEO and executives. And also last year, we went through all our policies and practices at ESCA to basically, develop and enforce ethical guidelines and policies for all aspects of our institutions. Last but not least, I mean, the issue of global perspective is very critical, because we feel that we have an important role being in the periphery and try to have collaboration with European, US, and Asian business school that can benefit from our experience. And also the other issue that also is very critical in terms of our accreditation, we try to measure what we do, because there is a need for accountability and also for assessment. So this is why, I mean, you mentioned Prime. I think Prime has been very useful for us, and we really have embraced the philosophy, and for us, it's very useful toolbox that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes. And I think we're at Lancaster working with Prime as well. I'm sure many of our institutions are. Sophia.
Yeah, I think there are pros and cons with the SDG framework. I mean, as a sustainability professional, there are a lot of frameworks out there. I think it's great that the SDGs are, uniting and a global framework, and it's colorful. It catches the attention, and it's very broad as well, which sustainability is. But I see a clear, also a drawback that it is so broad when you really want to focus on a few topics. Even if you are, as I said, if we are integrating all the 17 goals into our work, but we still have to focus. So, and I think the topic of materiality is super important in sustainability. That at least on the company side, that you really analyze where the biggest impacts are, both on society and the environment, but also the biggest business impact. So the double materiality aspect. So, I mean, there are the Global Compact. We have the People, Planet, Profit, SDGs, and then a long list from CSRD now. So sometimes I feel that less is more, but yeah, there are definitely some clear benefits.
Thank you. Marco, any insights from your work on this, the way these things work in practice? Oh, Marco may have left us. I will just take an opportunity to draw your attention to a note in the chat also about our IFSAM awards, some of which are related to this area. So Elise has posted a link there for everyone to take a look at. We have some, and Saad has represented the African perspective very eloquently. We've got a otherwise fairly European-centric panel on this occasion. Just wonder if any of the audience or the panel have some insights into SDGs and the grand challenges approach and how it's playing out in other contexts, other parts of the world, maybe from, I don't know, your submissions to your special issues and your work, Amanda. I don't know.
Martin, can I just interrupt you, please? Sophia had her hand up a while ago, but okay.
Yeah, it's an old one. Yep. No, just asking about further international perspectives, really.
I think our special issue wasn't exactly about the SDGs, so I'm thinking. Sorry.
Yeah. And I think we've explored in other panels in other previous IFSAM congresses this in various ways, this tension between impactful work of one form or another and the local requirements of academic careers and so forth, and that plays out, I think, in different ways in different contexts and different in countries with differing pressures and priorities. So that I'm sure applies to the Sustainable Development Goals specifically. One more opportunity to open it out to the audience. Please shout out or put a question in the chat. Okay, I think we've probably run our course in the conversation here. Lots of amazing insights, and I think some interesting complementary perspectives on some of our key questions from industry, from research, from education, and from business school leadership. The themes I get, certainly, and Robert in particular picked this up across the comments that were made, certainly relate to all sorts of connections and collaborations, and I guess that's what, in a sense, IFSAM is about, promoting and helping with to connect between research, practice, and education. And I think that, yes, Marco's point about the still siloed nature of our disciplines and institutions still doesn't square very well with the nature of the challenge, the interdisciplinary, impact-oriented nature of what we need to do. Certainly in the UK, increasingly, to some extent, funding of research, for example, is more and more about interdisciplinary, impact-oriented research, not the lone scholar in an office theorizing and sucking their pencil hard, but working with industry, working across science, technology, management. I think one thing we've discussed quite a bit is the role of business and management in the wider interdisciplinary context. I think sometimes, and I think I still see it in some of the funding, research funding bodies in the UK, where business and management seen as the part you put on at the end after you've done the technology and the innovation, quote unquote, in a tech STEM sense, and then management people are brought in later on to help with adoption or the human factors or the management of change. Whereas I think what we've discussed today really underlines the point that we, as business and management academics and leaders, are there with businesses who have a strategic intent to do something about sustainability, so we can lead these projects and shape the strategy, not just come along as a bolt-on optional extra to an essentially technological solution. That applies, I think, to our funding for research and probably our education as well. Robert, is there anything you would like to wrap up with?
I think it's been a fantastic opportunity to bring all these different perspectives, and also at different levels. I think it's been a very insightful discussion, not least to have also Sophia's input from the business side, Amanda's from the engaged scholarship side, and Saad's more practical hands-on. I think the important thing here that Saad perhaps brings in is not to forget about the periphery and perhaps some disadvantaged communities that need to be included in this work in various ways. And obviously Marco's more meta perspective on the adoption rates and the slowness of picking up on that. I think one reflection that strikes me is how important it is that we engage across many different communities, and that we also invent ways of communicating more effectively, because how we think about sustainability in a business school might be completely different in a technical faculty or somewhere else. Speaking about the academic disciplines. But not least also, as Sophia mentioned, it can create some interesting new collaborations and ways of understanding these problems in completely new ways. So I think that's my reflection from more general takeaway from these conversations. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you. And yes, thank you to all our speakers. Thanks to Marco, I think has left the meeting just now, Amanda, Sophia, Saad, Robert, who I think was the instigator of this particular theme in the first place. And thank you all for attending. Please tune in again for the IFSAM Futures Academy session and later sessions tomorrow. And thanks again for participating in the IFSAM Congress. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.